Hi everyone, I'm Tiago, and this is a video about adding and subtracting fractions without common denominators. Okay, so what does it mean to not have common denominators? Basically, you are adding together parts of different sizes, because if you have the denominator, to review, is the number of parts your whole is split into. For example, here is a fourth. It has a size that is different from eighth, right? And when they have the same size, it's really hard. It's actually pretty easy to add them together because you can just add that number of pieces. But and if you want more details on that, check our previous video on common fractions, common denominators. But when you have different denominators, then it is a little bit more complicated. Okay, so let's take an example. What if we want to add 1/2 and 1/4? These are fractions of different denominators. Their parts have different sizes. So you can't just put together the numerators, because then what would you put in the denominator? You can't add the denominators either. So what you do here is actually make the fractions into parts of the same size. So here you can cut this parts in half. You can actually now cut this pizza in 4 parts, and that's 1/2 that you had before is now 2/4. And this way you have 2 fractions of similar denominators. And here you can do it with the math. 2/4 plus 1/4 is the same as adding the numerators 3/4, or you can just see here you have 1, 2, 3/4 altogether, right? And so here we can see a very important rule actually with fractions, which is, well, if you were to continue, for example, if you were to continue to split this fraction into more pieces, you have your 2/4, which is the same as 1/2. If you split all the pieces in half again, you now have a pizza in 8 parts, and you have 4 of them. And if we look at all the fractions we just found are equal to each other, 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8, you can see an important pattern here, which is that, or an important relationship, which is that you're always, from one to the other, you're multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number. Here you're multiplying by 2, here you're multiplying by 2, and if you were to go from 1/2 to 4/8, you are also multiplying by the same number. You're multiplying the top by 4 and the bottom by 4, right? And this is a very important rule, which is that if you multiply the top and the bottom of a fraction by the same number, you are always getting an equivalence fraction or equal fraction, all right? So now let's get into a more difficult example. What if we were to add together 1/4 and 2/6? All right, let's first draw that out. We have 1/4 plus 2/6. Sorry if my drawing is not perfect. Plus 2/6. Again, it's not so easy as adding the numerators because each of the parts have different sizes. You can't just put them together. So what you do here, what you do is try to find try to make them into fractions of the same denominator. And you do that by finding equivalent fractions. So you need to find a fraction that's equal to this one, right? To add it to a fraction that's equal to this one, in a way that the denominators are equal. And how do you do that? Well, first, you need to find a number that both of these fractions multiply to. The easiest way is to just multiply the 2 fractions together. 4 times 6 is 24. So if you were able to get 2 fractions over 24, that would be, by multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number, that would be a way. But the best way, I think, is if you try to find the least common multiple, which is what we taught in our past video. If you want to take a look, see right here. I'm not going to get a lot into that, but to find the least common multiple between 6 and 4, you can use the ladder method. Here, you get 2 and 3. Multiply all of them, and you get that your least common multiple is 12. Alright? And so, you know that you want to get fractions with the denominator 12. To make this denominator 12, you would have to multiply it by 3, correct? And whatever you do to the bottom, you want to do to the top to get an equivalent fraction. So you multiply also the top by 3. In this case, you need to multiply it by 2, and then whatever you do to the bottom, you also do to the top. And now, you can make this, let's bring it down here. 3 times 1 is 3, the bottom becomes 12. 2 times 2 is 4, the bottom becomes 12 as well. And so you can just add them together and get 7/12. And this also works visually if you would try. If you want to break this into a fraction of 12 parts, you would have to do this, I believe. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 12 parts. And here you see that your pizza, your previous pizza, is 3/12, right here. And here, if you were to split them into 12 parts, yes, I think that is 12 parts, you can check. And what you're left with is 1, 2, 3, 4 twelfths. And when you add them together, you have 3 twelfths plus 4 twelfths, you get 7/12. And all this works the same for subtracting fractions, because as soon as you have fractions with the same denominator, you can just add or subtract the numerator depending on what's your operation. So if you were subtracting, you would do all the same steps, find the fractions of similar denominators, and subtract the numerators, right? Because then it's just adding or subtracting fractions with similar denominators, with common denominators. Okay, now I'm going to teach you a quick trick that you can use if you found all this a bit confusing, or if you just want another way. You can use the butterfly method to add fractions of different denominators. So let's take an example, 2/3 plus 3/8, okay? And this is called the butterfly method because what you do is you draw these circles which look like butterfly wings. And what you do is also draw the antenna. This is all for visual purposes, but it would work without the drawing. Multiply these two numbers, 3 times 3, you get 9, and you write it there. 2 times 8 is 16, you write it there. And then you draw the body of the butterfly, and then here you multiply the two denominators, which would give you 24. And in the end, if you are adding, you add the two numbers that you got up here, which would give you 25. And the denominator, you just get what's here in the bottom, 24ths. And the same would work for subtraction. If you had, let's take just the same fractions. 2/3 minus 3/8. Draw the butterfly. And here you multiply these two numbers, 16. Multiply these two, 9. And your body is multiplying the denominators, 24. And you would get, but this time you would subtract the two numbers up here. So in the end, you get 7, correct? 7/24. And you can try this out visually. It would also work. I would recommend you to try that with the other method we taught. But yeah, if you want another way to do your addition and subtraction, this is it. All right? Okay, so thank you very much. Again, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments or talk to us. Send us an email. And yeah, hope you liked the video. Have an awesome day.